Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, December the 15th. We do have a big Wednesday slate. We got an 11-game slate. This is going to be a crazy day, I can already tell you. We've had so much injury news, or not even injury news, but COVID-related news with the NBA lately, and it's also been happening, in the NFL too. We've already had a ton of guys get ruled out for COVID protocols. I wouldn't be surprised if we see even more guys get ruled out during the day Wednesday. I'm going to do my best to kind of give you guys, my first looks at the slate like I always do. But this is going to be a day where we got to pay attention to the injury report. There are probably going to be guys that get randomly ruled out that we don't expect to be out. We'll have to pay attention to that. As always, these are my first looks at the slate. I do provide a lot more updated content on Patreon if you want to check that out. My full updated core plays, those are posted on Patreon. You can get in our Discord chat where you can, ask me questions throughout the day up until lock. I'm always in Discord to answer, Patreon members' questions. Also, I list off my favorite plays at each position. I have my positional plays. I have my rankings, which are my top 20 plays of the day ranked in order of interest. That's all available for Patreon members. I also do give out some of my favorite picks each day for Prize Picks. And if you guys are new to the channel, you have not signed up for Prize Picks yet, go check them out. They are the sponsor of this video. If you do sign up for Prize Picks, use code NOAH when you sign up, and they will match your first deposit. Prize Picks will give you a free bet up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. You can take a look at what Prize Picks has to offer. They are a player prop based DFS site, so it is very simple. You just pick the over or the under on the players' projections. They don't have anything posted yet for NBA for Wednesday, but they'll probably get that stuff posted, early Wednesday morning. You can take a look at their, NBA board, see if there's some projections you like. They'll have fantasy point projections. They also have points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made. Again, you just take the over or the under. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. So if you guys want to sign up, use code NOAH. They will match your first deposit up to $100. And again, I do give out some of my favorite picks on Prize Picks each day for Patreon members. If you do become a Patreon member, that's one of the benefits, I guess, that you get of being a member. But yeah, guys, big slate today, 11 games. Going to try and do my best to kind of go through these games as quick as possible. So let's start off with the Houston and Cleveland game. On Houston, big question mark here with Christian Wood questionable. Obviously, this is a big injury that's going to impact a lot. If Christian Wood does not play, I think the biggest beneficiary will definitely be Şengün and Daniel Theis. I think Şengün's going to be the guy that we really want to roster. He has shown a lot of upside this year when he's gotten minutes now. He hasn't played a ton of minutes this season just because they have Christian Wood, who they're going to give big minutes to. But when Şengün's gotten on the court, you look at his game log, what he's putting up in limited minutes is great. He's a fantasy point per minute player. If Christian Wood were to be out, we would probably see Şengün start and play at least, 26, 28 minutes. The matchup against Cleveland's not great, but as long as Şengün stays out of foul trouble, he would play a ton if Christian Wood got ruled out. So this is a big injury to watch with Wood questionable. And then Daniel Theis would probably get more minutes as well. Daniel Theis is really cheap, $3,300. I don't think he has as much upside as Şengün, but he's definitely playable if Wood sits. If Christian Wood plays, then I don't love too much here from Houston. It's a bad matchup. Cleveland's a really good defensive team. They play at a slow pace. Don't love many of these Houston guys, but obviously, if Wood winds up sitting, then there will be a good amount to like here. Now, on the Cleveland side, there's not too much I like on Cleveland. I will say that the matchup's really good going up against Houston. Houston's playing at the fastest pace in the league this year. They're not a great defensive team. It wouldn't be surprising to see Jared Allen or Darius Garland or even Evan Mobley have a good game. I did see that Evan Mobley was questionable. I saw that on Twitter. Right now, DraftKings doesn't have him listed as questionable, but keep an eye on that. If he winds up sitting, I guess, that would definitely benefit a guy like Jared Allen. But right now, I don't see a ton of standout plays from Cleveland. I think, Allen, Garland, Mobley, these guys are tournament plays, but nothing that stands out as core options on a big slate like this. Next game, though, Atlanta and Orlando. So on Atlanta here, Trae Young, 10,700. I think he's appealing. I don't think he's a top pay-up option, though. We have Jokic on this slate. We have some really good mid-range plays. Obviously, Giannis is not going to play today, but that does, give us a lot of good plays in the mid-range with some of those, other bucks that we'll talk about. I don't think Trae Young would be a priority spend up for me, but obviously the upside's there for Trae Young, and we've seen him play really, really well lately. He's been a lot more consistent. He's shown a lot higher floor as of late. The floor for Trae Young has been somewhat low this year. We've seen a lot of disappointing games from him, but last few games, 55, 59, 57, 60, he's been super, super consistent, playing a ton of minutes. Against the Magic, obviously this is a pretty favorable matchup. The Magic are not a good defensive team, so I think Trae Young in tournaments makes some sense. I think it's a great matchup for Clint Capella. He did do really, really well last time these teams played earlier this year, 55 DK points in 34 minutes. Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., like these guys are not elite defenders by any means, and I think this is a spot where Clint Capella, could probably dominate on the boards. Going to play a lot of minutes because we know this Magic team, plays pretty big. I would expect we get 33, 34 minutes from Capella if it's a close game. So I think Capella in tournaments makes sense. That's probably it though from Atlanta. Do want to mention Cam Reddish just kind of as a punt play. 3,800. He did play pretty good minutes off the bench last game, 28 minutes. I think most nights Cam Reddish, especially while Hunter and Bogdan are still out, I think Cam Reddish will play, mid-20s minutes off the bench. On an 11-game slate, I don't think Cam Reddish is going to be like a standout value play. I think we're probably going to get a lot of value open up as the day goes on, with injury news and stuff, but Reddish is playable at least if you do want to go, cheap, or if you are looking for a cheap, small forward, I think he's viable. But we can talk about Orlando now. So on Orlando, I don't like too much here. Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter Jr., Mo Bamba, they're fine plays, but like nobody stands out at their price points on this Magic team. The pricing for the Magic guys are pretty accurate. Even Wagner, I don't really like at 6,300. The value I don't really want to go to. Like I don't want to play Terrence Ross or Gary Harris. I know Terrence Ross has been playing better lately. He's been getting good minutes, but on an 11-game slate, again, like I just don't think I'm really going to be playing a ton of Magic today, unless by some chance, COVID protocols, some of these guys get ruled out, but that's just news we don't really have right now. We'd have to wait and see there. I don't think the Magic are a team I really like that much. So we can move on to the next game, talk about Miami and Philly. So on Miami, got some big news here with Tyler Hero questionable. Obviously, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo are still out. So, if Hero were to be out as well, I mean, Kyle Lowry would just get a massive, massive bump. He would probably play 36, close to 40 minutes if this game's closed. He'd obviously have the ball in his hands a ton. He would get a ton of usage. Even at 8,100, I think Lowry would be a very strong play today if Hero is out. Even if Hero plays, I think Lowry is still viable. Hero himself is also in play if you want to go there. He's probably more of a GPP option, but he's playable. PJ Tucker, don't know what's been going on with him, but he's actually been playing really well lately. And for fantasy, like he's been producing at a very high rate. He's averaged over a fantasy point per minute in 3 straight games, 40, 34, and 44 DraftKings points for PJ Tucker. I'm not going to play PJ Tucker at 5,300. But it's at least good to see that he's playing better. He is famous for being a very low usage, unproductive player when he's on the floor. Like we've seen in the past, PJ Tucker play 40 minutes and score 10 DraftKings points. So I don't really want to, change anything or change my thoughts on him after 3 games. It's good to see him playing well, but I'm not going to play him at 5,300. I'll let other people chase that. So don't really like PJ Tucker, to be honest with you. Even though he's been playing well, Dedmon, his minutes have just been so inconsistent. It's really hard to trust Dedmon right now. Gabe Vincent, he's been starting, played 34 minutes last game, but at 4,500, I don't really want to pay that price tag for Gabe Vincent. I think Duncan Robinson, especially if Hero's out, like Duncan Robinson could be pretty appealing. Obviously, we know what Duncan Robinson's going to do when he's on the court. He's just going to shoot the ball, and that's probably it. But you would have to assume that if Hero is not out there, I mean, somebody's going to have to provide some offense for him. It can't just be all Lowry. So I think Duncan Robinson would definitely have the opportunity to take a lot of shots if Hero were to be out. Again, he's scoring dependent, but the volume I think would be there. The minutes should be there. He's only 4,400. You could definitely consider Duncan Robinson as a value if Hero sits. But that's probably it from Miami. Now on Philly, big news here with Joel Embiid currently questionable. This is obviously, another big injury that will impact a ton. If Embiid gets ruled out, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, these guys would get pretty good usage bumps, and they would both be firmly in play on the slate, especially because their prices didn't even move. Harris is still just 7,400. Maxey still just 6,100. I would like both those guys a decent amount, even in a tougher matchup against Miami. Seth Curry's also out, or also questionable as well. So if Seth Curry gets ruled out too, I think that would just be even better for Maxey and Harris. I think it would also give a bump to Court Moss, who did start last game in place of Curry, played 32 minutes at 3,500. Court Moss would be a fine value if Curry sits. And then Andre Drummond, 4,700. If Embiid gets ruled out, Andre Drummond's going to be probably the best value play on the slate. He only played 21 minutes last game, starting in place of Embiid, but that was a massive blowout. He was still productive in those minutes, though, had 26 DK points. We've seen when Drummond makes starts in place of Embiid, like he's just, he's going to produce. He's a point-per-minute player. He's going to, get rebounds. He's going to get shots up around the rim. He's going to block shots. He just stuffs the stat sheet. And at 4,700, this is just a really bad price on Drummond if Embiid winds up sitting. So, that's big news. Going to have to keep an eye on that. If Embiid plays, I think we can probably just fade Philly for the most part. Embiid himself, if you wanted to go there in tournaments, you could. He'd be really low owned. But still, I wouldn't love many Sixers if Embiid's in. Next game, though, the Lakers and the Mavs. So the Lakers are another team that have kind of been hit hard with COVID protocols. THT, Malik Monk, and Dwight Howard are all out today. So this is kind of big. Anthony Davis is also questionable. We're going to have to watch the stats of Anthony Davis. Obviously, if Anthony Davis gets ruled out, LeBron, Westbrook would both get bumps. I will say that Westbrook, even with AD out lately, has been terrible. I think Westbrook really benefits when LeBron's out. I think, not having AD out there doesn't really help Westbrook that much. He just hasn't been that great. I think Westbrook really benefits when he's the guy that has the ball in his hands all the time. And obviously, when he's playing alongside LeBron, that's just not the case. I think LeBron's the guy that we really want to go to if AD sits. He's been great without AD these last few games. 63, 59, 67 Draftkings points. Had a triple-double last game. 37 minutes. Like, he's been playing a ton of minutes. This game against Dallas should stay close, so we should get big minutes from LeBron here. At this price point, I'm only going to play him if AD's out. But if AD does sit, I would definitely like LeBron. And then if AD sits, especially if they have, without Dwight Howard as well, like DeAndre Jordan would probably have to play somewhat big minutes. Like, I don't know how many minutes DeAndre Jordan can really play at this point, but without Dwight Howard and if AD were to be out as well, I think DeAndre Jordan would start and probably play at least low to mid-20s minutes at 3,100. He would be a pretty good value play. And then I think we would see a lot of Carmelo Anthony in some small ball lineups whenever Jordan's not on the floor. I think they're probably going to have Melo out there playing center. He would probably get a lot of minutes if AD were to be out as well. So, yeah, if AD sits, big bump for LeBron, and then obviously Melo, DeAndre Jordan would be pretty solid values as well, since they're also going to be without Dwight Howard. And then with no THT and with no Monk, you're probably going to see more minutes for Avery Bradley, more minutes for Austin Reeves, maybe Wayne Ellington gets minutes. I don't think I'm really going to go to those guys, honestly, just because they're pretty much low. They're all low usage players, and they don't really provide much upside. So even with THT and Monk out, I don't see too much to like in terms of those small fours and shooting guards like Bradley, Reeves. I don't think I'd be going there, honestly. But that's it for the Lakers. Now on the Dallas side, we know Luka's going to be out once again, so that solidifies a pretty heavy role for Porzingis and Brunson. Porzingis at 8,600. I still think it's a fine option. He did have a big game against Charlotte in only 25 minutes last game. It was a great matchup for Porzingis. Charlotte been getting killed by bigs this year. 24 and 13 with 5 blocks, 53 DK points. I think, against the Lakers here, especially if AD sits, it would be a pretty good matchup for Porzingis. The Lakers have been playing really fast this year, so I definitely would like Porzingis in tournaments today. I think he'd get a slight bump up if AD, doesn't play. I think Brunson, now that his price is where it is, 6,700, he's not as appealing. Now, he is still rosterable because we know the upside's there for Brunson. When Luka's out, he's going to play, all his minutes at point guard. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's going to get probably 34, 35 minutes if the game's close. But at 6,700, he's priced where he should be. And the rest of the Mavs, I'm not really going to be on a 11-game slate. So it's probably just Porzingis and Brunson. And even Brunson, I don't love at his price tag. Next game, though, the Pacers and the Bucks. So this is one that, there's going to be a lot to like, especially on the Bucks side. On the Pacers side, not as much really stands out here. I think, for the most part, you're just kind of looking at tournament dart throws. Sabonis, 9,500, like, he feels priced about right. Same with Brogdon, same with LeVert. Sabonis has been pretty consistent lately, but we still haven't seen that massive ceiling that we really want. At 9,500, you're looking for almost, 55, 60 DK points from Sabonis at this price tag. Can he get that any night? He absolutely can, but I don't think I'd be going to Sabonis today. I think Brogdon's okay at 7,700, but he doesn't really stand out on this slate, just in my opinion. And then LeVert, now that his price is way up, not really interested there. Don't see too much I like from Indiana, but on the Bucks side, a lot to like here. So Giannis is out for health and safety protocols. Dante DiVincenzo was actually expected to make his season debut, but he got ruled out for health and safety protocols. And then we know, Brook Lopez out. DeMarcus Cousins also out. But without Giannis, we know who to go to here. Drew Holiday at 7,500, right now stands out as one of the best plays on the slate. I think he looks like a great play on both sides. His price tag didn't move for Giannis being out. This Giannis news came out after the pricing was already released, so they couldn't really adjust things for Giannis being out. We're getting some mispriced guys here. Drew without Giannis is obviously a totally different player. He's going to get way more usage, going to have the ball in his hands a ton, going to take more shots. He's just a way more productive player when he's not playing alongside Giannis. We've seen in past games whenever Giannis sits, Drew just, he does really well. At 7,500, he's too cheap today. Chris Middleton is questionable. I'm assuming that he's going to play. If Middleton plays, I think he's a great play as well. He's only 7,200. Obviously gets a massive boost without Giannis as well. So would love Middleton too at 7,200. And also on Yahoo, $28. I think Middleton looks great over there. Again, he's questionable, so keep an eye on this. If Middleton doesn't play, then man, like Drew's going to be, he'd look even better. Bobby Portis would look great. Pat Connaughton would be a really good play. Grayson Allen would be a good value. There's already a lot to like from the Bucks, and if Middleton gets ruled out too, man, you're going to really have to load up on this team. But yeah, Drew and Middleton without Giannis, both those guys I like a lot. Bobby Portis as well, 7,100. Like, I still think Bobby Portis is a good play too. Now, playing all three of these guys in the same lineup, normally I wouldn't say that's like a great route to go on an 11-game slate, but we'll have to wait and see what other kind of plays open up as the day goes on. I think for now, it is definitely fine to play all three of these guys together, just because we know when Giannis is out, these are the three guys that put up get all the production. These are the three guys that are going to dominate the usage. We've seen Bobby Portis do really well in games without Giannis. He's really productive. He gets more usage too. He's been productive this year, even playing alongside Giannis. Now with Giannis out, we can expect more minutes for Bobby Portis and for him to be more productive in those minutes. So I definitely like him too at 7,100. Now Pat Connaughton at 5K probably would only go there if Middleton sits. I think if Middleton sits, Pat Connaughton would be a pretty good play. If Middleton plays, I don't really like Connaughton that much. I think for value, we can definitely look to Grayson Allen. I haven't really played Grayson Allen much this year, but I think when Giannis does sit, that does benefit Grayson Allen. So, today with no Giannis, I think at 4K, he's pretty cheap. Grayson Allen does make some sense as a value option if you want to go there, and I think he would also get a boost if Middleton were to be out. The rest of the Bucks, though, like Rodney Hood, the rest of these guys, George Hill, I don't think I'd be going there. I think really, the main guys that we talked about, that's where we really want to get our exposure to on Milwaukee. Moving on to the next game, talk about the Pelicans and the Thunder. So looking at the Pelicans today, this team, I think they're priced correctly. Brandon Ingram against OKC, obviously a good matchup. OKC, really bad defensively. They're not a good team in general. Brandon Ingram has shown a lot of upside lately. He does have over 50 DK points in 3 of his last 5 games. But at 9,200, I think he's priced where he should be. Jonas Valanciunas, though, at 8,700, I do like a lot in tournaments, and I don't think J-Val gets a ton of ownership on a big slate like this. I think he's a really good play as a GPP option. Probably not someone you'd be going to like in cash games, but in GPPs, I definitely like the spot for J-Val. We've seen centers do really well against OKC this year. J-Val did have a big game against them earlier this season, 52 DK points in 39 minutes. Now, this game was without Brandon Ingram, so Ingram did not play last time they played the Thunder. But regardless, the matchup's fantastic. They don't really have any good defensive big men. Whether it's like Derek Favors or Darius Baisley or JRE, none of these guys are going to stop J-Val. And we know J-Val is really productive when he's on the court. We know for the most part, if it's a close game, J-Val is going to play a lot of minutes. So I like him a lot at 8,700. He's for sure my favorite play from the Pelicans, but I think Brandon Ingram is viable too. The rest of the Pelicans, no interest for me on a big slate like this. And then on the OKC side, Lou Dort's out, so, that kind of benefits SGA and Giddey a little bit. I still don't think they're great plays on this slate, especially where they're priced at, but they are at least viable. And then we might get some value from OKC. We'll have to wait and see what they do with the starting lineup. I'm assuming that probably, maybe Trey Mann or, I don't know who would start in place of Dort. It could be, I don't even know. We're just going to have to wait and see there. If, depending on who winds up starting, we could maybe get some value here. They might go big and just start SGA, Giddey, Baisley, JRE, and Favors. That's probably what they'll do. But I think if Kendrick Williams starts at 3,500, he'd be a decent value. Kendrick Williams has shown some good point per minute upside when he does get minutes. The matchup against the Pelicans, I think, is pretty favorable. So if he starts, I'd have some interest. Maybe if Poku starts, you could go there. But I think even if Trey Mann starts, I wouldn't love that much. Same with Ty Jerome. But depending on who starts for Dort, that could definitely open up some value from OKC. But in general, the Thunder are not a team I'm really going to be loading up on an 11-game slate. At least, pending news, I don't see too much I really like here. So next game, we'll talk about Charlotte and San Antonio. So Charlotte, they're still somewhat shorthanded, still missing LaMelo, still missing Ish Smith, but they've got Terry Rozier back. They got PJ Washington back. They've got, Jalen McDaniels is back. And also, Nick Richards is back. I think Mason Plumlee has a chance to play too. Yeah, so he's questionable. So for the most part, Charlotte's just about at full strength. They're just still missing LaMelo. Without LaMelo, obviously there's more usage available for Kelly Oubre, Miles Bridges, Gordon Hayward. But these guys have all been priced up for these games without LaMelo and without Rozier. Now they're not really priced correctly. If anything, they're overpriced. Oubre, he still played a lot of minutes, but I don't really want to pay $8,200 for Oubre now with Rozier back. Same with Miles Bridges at $8,100. These guys are still going to play a lot, but at their price points, I don't think they really stand out. I think Terry Rozier is kind of appealing in tournaments. He did play 33 minutes in his first game back from COVID protocols, so really no minutes limit for him, and he had 32 DK points. He wasn't super productive, but I think without LaMelo, there is more upside available for Terry Rozier. He's going to take a lot of shots. He should have the ball in his hands a lot more. The matchup against San Antonio I think is pretty good. So far this year, San Antonio is playing at a top 10 pace, and we do know that the Hornets are one of the fastest paced teams in the league. So this should be a very high scoring, fast paced game, which I think does set up well for Rozier. In tournaments, he's going to get zero ownership today. So he's someone I could see taking a shot on in GPPs. That's probably it, though, from Charlotte. Don't really see anything else I like here. Now, on the San Antonio side, it is a great matchup for these Spurs guys. Getting to face Charlotte is one of the best matchups you can get. They play super fast. They're bad defensively. So I think a guy like Dejounte Murray as a tournament option makes some sense. Now, he's 10,300. He's really expensive. You are paying a premium for Murray. But we've seen the massive upside he has, 55, 60-point upside. He can basically put up a triple-double any night. I think he's still a viable tournament play. I think it's a really good matchup for Jakob Poeltl at 7K. If you want to go to Poeltl, I think he makes some sense. Now, he's also kind of been priced up a good amount, but we've seen Charlotte get killed by bigs this year. Obviously, we saw what, forgot who he was talking about. I can't remember who it was, but someone recently went off against Charlotte. Can't remember who it was, but yeah, I think Jakob Poeltl, in a good matchup here against this Hornets team makes a lot of sense if you want to go there. That's probably it, though, from San Antonio. I think it's just Murray and Poeltl for me, and that's really it. Now, next game, Minnesota and Denver. So looking at Minnesota here, Karl-Anthony Towns, 10,200. Tougher matchup going up against Jokic and this Denver team. I think, on this slate, Towns is just kind of a low-owned GPP dart throw. He doesn't really stand out as a top priority pay-up option. D'Angelo Russell is questionable. Again, he's been out, I believe, like their last 2 or 3 games. If he were to sit, obviously that would benefit Towns a little bit. It would benefit Anthony Edwards. I don't think either one would really stand out on this slate, but they would get little boosts that they would look a little bit better. And then the rest of the Minnesota guys, I'm just not that interested in, especially if Russell returns. It's going to take away opportunity for guys like Beverly and Beasley. So really, Minnesota's just kind of a fade for me. I don't love too much here. Now, on the Denver side, Nikola Jokic, he just continues to dominate every single night. I think, once again, Jokic is a great pay-up option today. I mean, this matchup against Towns, I think, is really good. Cat's never been a great defender. Jokic had 65 DK points in 36 minutes last time these teams played. It wouldn't be surprising to see Jokic put up 60-plus again. I mean, you look at his game log, he's gone for 60-plus DraftKings points in 5 straight games. 3 of his last 5, he's got over 70 DK points. He's really expensive, 12,200, but with it being a 11-game slate, with all these COVID protocols and stuff, and all these guys randomly getting ruled out, we're probably going to get some guys randomly ruled out during the day Wednesday, which is going to open up value. So if value does open up, it's going to be pretty easy to pay up for Jokic, and he would definitely be one of my favorite pay-up options. Then Will Barton and Aaron Gordon are both questionable. So this is actually Aaron Gordon's probable. Will Barton is probable. Okay, never mind. So I misread there. So Will Barton and Aaron Gordon are both probable. They're both expected to play. With them playing, I don't see too much else I like from Minnesota outside of Jokic. Jokic is by far the best play here on the Nuggets. Next game, though, Washington and Sacramento. So really good matchup here for the Wizards. Sacramento, kind of another team that's been playing really fast this year, been bad defensively. But it's hard to get excited about these Wizards guys just because of how bad they've been this year, and they haven't really been justifying their price tags. Now, Bradley Beal, any night, can go off for 50, 55 DK points. Obviously, against the Kings, he has a lot of upside. I still think he's just kind of a tournament play. I think Spencer Dinwiddie's just a GPP dart throw. I mean, Dinwiddie's just been so freaking bad lately. Now, if Kuzma sits again, Kuzma's been out for health and safety protocols. He's questionable. If he returns, that does hurt these guys a little bit. If he remains out, they would be a little bit more appealing, but still, I don't love too much from Washington, even in a good matchup against the Kings. And then, the center roulette with Gafford and Harrell. If you want to take a shot on one of those guys and hope you hope you play the right one, by all means, go ahead. I mean, the matchup's really good. It wouldn't be surprising to see one of Harrell or Gafford do well here, but not a team I love in general. The Wizards are. Now, on the Sacramento side, it's kind of the same thing. The Wizards been really good defensively this year, been playing at a much slower pace, so this is not a great spot for these guys, for these Sacramento players. De'Aaron Fox in tournaments at 8K, fine, but doesn't really stand out to me. Rashawn Holmes is doubtful. He should be out once again, I do believe, so we'll have to wait and see what they do with the starting lineup. Last game, they went and started Metu over Marvin Bagley, but then Marvin Bagley played a lot off the bench and played really well, so maybe they go back to Marvin Bagley in the starting lineup. I really don't know. This is one of the late-night games, so we're not going to have a Kings starting lineup till way after lock. If Marvin Bagley winds up starting, I think he would be a pretty decent value play because we have seen Marvin Bagley be really productive when he does get minutes. But that's, you're just guessing because obviously, with this being a 10 o'clock game, who knows, what the starting lineup's going to look like. I'll probably just be fading Sacramento. I don't really see too much I like here. You're just kind of throwing darts with guys like Fox and Halliburton and Harrison Barnes and, Bagley if he starts. Bagley if he starts would be my favorite play from Sacramento, but yeah, I don't love too much here. Next game, though, the Clippers and the Jazz. So Paul George, questionable for today. If he winds up returning, if he plays, I'll be full fading the Clippers. Obviously, everyone on the Clippers has been priced up for when PG has been out. So if PG plays, all these guys are overpriced. PG himself, you could play in tournaments, but I don't think he'd really be someone I'd be going to. Now, if PG remains out, then yeah, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Terrence Mann, like these guys are playable, but their prices have come up. The matchup against Utah is really bad. I still don't really like any of these Clippers today, even if PG remains out. Now, on Yahoo, I think the pricing is a little bit better there. Like Terrence Mann, he's still $14. I think he'd be fine. Luke Kennard's still really cheap, $11. Reggie Jackson, $20. Like, you could definitely play those guys on Yahoo. I think they look better there. On DraftKings, though, I don't love too much from the Clippers, even if Paul George remains out. And on the Utah side, you guys know that I really never play any of these Utah guys on an 11-game slate. If Utah's fully healthy, which they are right now, I don't see too much that I like here. Now, obviously, with COVID protocols kind of going wild right now, could some guys get ruled out for that? It's possible. If that were to happen, then obviously that would change my thoughts on this Utah team. But with everyone expected to play, expected to be in, there's not a ton that I like from the Jazz. I think Mitchell and Gobert are kind of your starting points. But even Mitchell and Gobert on this slate are just low on dart throws, that I really don't have much interest in. They're probably guys you could go to on the late night slate. Don't think I'd be playing them on the main slate. Last game of the night, though, the Grizzlies and the Blazers. So the Grizzlies, they're coming into this game with, for the most part, somewhat healthy. Obviously, they're still missing Ja, still missing Brandon Clark, but, Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson Jr., and then who else? Desmond Bane were all questionable last game, but they're all, not on the injury report right now, so they should be all playing. Triple J at 7,200 is a fine tournament play. I think his upside is definitely higher with Ja off the floor. We've seen Triple J have some pretty good games whenever Ja's been out for this, stretch of games. We know the issue with Triple J, it's foul trouble. He has to stay out of foul trouble, but if he does, you can see him put up 40, 45 DK points. Still don't think he stands out as his price point, but playable at least. Same with Brooks and Bane. Memphis is not a team I love today. The pricing here is pretty accurate. There's not a ton of guys that I think are glaring values, but some guys you could throw, you sprinkle into your GPP lineups like Bane and Brooks and Triple J. But on the Portland side, this is going to be a team to kind of pay attention to. So Portland, as I'm recording this video on Tuesday night, they just ended their game against the Suns on Tuesday night, and it was an overtime game. Damian Lillard played over 40 minutes. A lot of the starters played a ton of minutes. This is a back-to-back for Portland, and they just played in an overtime game against Phoenix on Tuesday, so it would not be surprising if they rest some guys here. Keep an eye on Dame's status. So obviously Dame has been coming back from an injury, an abdomen injury. He played against Minnesota, played 37 minutes, and then obviously Tuesday night against Phoenix in that overtime game, he played like over 40 minutes. So I'm assuming Dame plays, but it would not be surprising if they randomly rest him, given it's a back-to-back and he's coming back from injury. If he plays, though, I think at 9,900, he is definitely a good option on this slate. Memphis, their defense has been a lot better as of late. Ever since Ja's been out, their defense has been really good. Their defense was terrible when Ja was out, or when Ja was playing. They were one of the worst defensive teams in the league, but they've improved on that part. Getting Tyus Jones in there over Ja has been a huge benefit for their defense. So I don't think the matchup's great for Dame, but we know without CJ, he's just going to have the ball in his hands so much. He's going to get a ton of usage. He's going to take a ton of shots. He would definitely be in play for me on this slate, assuming he does wind up playing. Nurkic at 7,800, don't really like. Norman Powell at 6,500, don't really like. I think these guys are only in consideration for me if Dame winds up resting. Same could be said for Anthony Simons at 5,400. I think he would probably only be in play if Dame winds up resting. Larry Nance, though, I do like as a value play. So we did talk about Larry Nance in Tuesday's video. I thought he was a pretty good value. He started last game against Minnesota, played 26 minutes, had 29 DK points. He started once again on Tuesday night, had a pretty decent game. I think he finished with I can't remember, like 26, 28 DK points. I can actually pull up his game log real quick. Or I can actually just pull it up on Yahoo because Yahoo updates their game logs quick. So Larry Nance, he did start again. He played 27 minutes, had 31 fantasy points, 9 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Just your typical Larry Nance type of game. I mean, he's a guy that does a little bit of everything, points, rebounds, assists. He'll get defensive stats. He's going to play decent minutes as long as he's still starting. I think, minimum salary on Yahoo as kind of a first look value and 4,600 on DraftKings. I do like Larry Nance on this slate as a cheap option. Now, depending on what happens with these COVID protocols, but depending on, if guys were rested today, like on Portland, we could see some guys rested because it's a back-to-back. There could definitely be better value open up as the day goes on, but I think for now, Larry Nance does look like a pretty decent value play, assuming he's, still in the starting lineup. The rest of Portland, though, I'm not that interested in. I think that's it for Portland, and I think that's it for this big 11-game slate on Wednesday, guys. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Try to get through this, when as quick as possible. We got through in 29 minutes, a little bit good, a little bit better than normal. Usually I'll spend like 35, 40 minutes on these big slates, but hope you guys did enjoy the breakdown. Hope it helped. Obviously, with this being a 11-game slate with all these COVID protocols, guys getting ruled out all the time. Keep an eye on the injury report today. We have a lot of key guys questionable as well. This is going to be a day where you have to pay attention to injury news. If you enjoyed this first look video and you want some of my more updated content, I do provide that on Patreon. Link down below in the description. Also, give out some of my favorite picks on Prize Picks each day. Link down below in the description. You can check out Prize Picks if you have not yet. Sign up. Use code NOAH, and they will match your first deposit. Prize Picks will give you a free bet up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. They're starting to post NBA projections right now as I'm wrapping up this video. They'll have a lot more projections posted for NBA, though, on early Wednesday morning. You can take a look at their board, make some picks for yourself, potentially win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. But yeah, guys, that's it for Wednesday's 11-game slate. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We will see you in the next one. Peace.